Mo Money, Mo Podcast.
God, that was horrible.
That's right. On today's episode, we're talking money at work, where Kaila and I are going to share 3 money moments we've had in our careers and the lessons you can learn from them.
And more importantly, how not to make the same mistakes that we did. Let's get into it. We'll get to the show in a minute, but first, Kyle, I had a bit of a late start this morning.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, I was planning to spend the morning working from home, but then everything went wrong. I thought I could sleep in until 3 minutes before my first meeting, but then I realized I had no breakfast, my coffee maker cracked, so I couldn't get any coffee, and then my Wi-Fi was spotty, so I couldn't even log into my meeting. I had to hotspot from my phone just to connect.
Kaila, that's tough. One of those days, it's so embarrassing to be in that position. But Kaila, I don't have too much sympathy for you. If you had just gone to an industrious co-working space, all of that would have been taken care of. You know that.
I know. My morning would have been so much smoother with their actually good coffee and espresso and delicious breakfast options. Plus, their beautifully designed spaces would have felt so much more zen than my makeshift home office.
Yeah, you would have avoided all of this trouble if you just went to Industrious. Now, you can avoid the work from home drama by trying Industrious yourself. Get a day pass or meeting room booking, now 50% off for Per My Last Email listeners. Visit industriousoffice.com/PMLE to get your discount or free tour. That's industriousoffice.com/PMLE for 50% off your first day pass or meeting room booking. Kaila, Mo Money, Mo Podcast.
That's so. Why did you have to say it twice, dude? That's crazy.
It's the slogan so nice you got to say it twice.
Sure. Okay.
We're talking money at work. I'm very excited for this episode.
Yeah, me too.
Set the scene for the people.
Yeah. So the way we're thinking about it is, it's we've just passed the end of the year. It's the beginning of the year. Probably you're going through performance reviews. Maybe you're getting a bonus.
Okay, cha-ching.
Maybe you're getting a promotion or a raise.
Okay, cha-ching.
Or a quality of life increase, or worse. Maybe you're getting nothing at all.
You really got to barrel down.
Yeah, costs are only increasing, and you're like, no matter what, at this moment, you're probably thinking about your finances, and you're probably thinking about how you want to approach your finances this year.
That's right.
At least I know I am.
That's right. TLDR, no matter your situation, money matters.
Yes, money matters. I don't know if you guys knew that, but we're breaking ground here.
Breaking some news here on the pod.
So we wanted to kind of share how we think about money at work. It's not a topic we talk about often, but it is a topic we've talked about a few times, and you guys seem to really like it. So let's talk about some money moments in our careers. Should I start with situation number 1?
Let's do it.
Okay, lovely. So situation number 1 that I think was a big wake-up call for me was when I took a pay cut from my finance job in Florida and I moved to New York City. Famously, New York City is slightly more expensive than Jacksonville, Florida. So the combination of making less money in my paycheck and making more expenses was fucking crazy.
You had a cost of living adjustment, but they did the math wrong.
It was like in every direction was worse. And so the thing that I learned, I'll give you a little example, was we were so excited. Me and my now husband moved up together, and we moved to a small apartment in the West Village. Our rent, because I was living with him before we moved up, our rent went from, I think, a total of $1,200 between the two of us to $3,000. And we took pay cuts. So our rent expenses doubled, more than doubled. And also, we were living in New York. We were so excited. When we were in Jacksonville, it was like, there are like 4.5 restaurants that you could go to. So whenever we want to go to a restaurant, you could like kind of ball out and like not think about it.
Yeah.
We took that same energy. And the first month that we were in New York, I think it was like, let's say it was the month of May of, 2018 or something. We were like, we want to see all that West Village has to offer. So every night we went to a different West Village restaurant. We were like, we're not repeating any restaurants until August. And then the credit card statement came.
And then June, you declared bankruptcy.
It was bananas. And we looked at that and we were like, how the hell did we not realize how much we were spending? And it's because we weren't in the habit of budgeting, because we didn't really have to in Florida. Obviously, like, you have to think about money, but it wasn't as in your face as it was that first month in New York. So we literally had to put ourselves on timeout until we paid down the credit cards that we had created. So 2 lessons from that. Number 1 is track how much money you're spending, especially when you're in a situation where money is tighter than perhaps it was before. This is an unsponsored, not an ad, hashtag, whatever. Copilot is something that I've started using recently that I love.
Nice.
You put in all of your stuff and basically it'll tell you how much you're spending on each category. You can allocate budgets for each category.
You like sync your credit cards and bank
statements
yeah.
and everything.
I think I've used that before.
Yeah.
I stopped using it, but it was really good. I was impressed.
Yeah, I use it. It's like, I would say the second app I see every morning just to like look at yesterday's transactions. So highly, highly recommend that. And also I think what's really important is as soon as possible as attaching your spend to the values that you have. So if we had, as we made this big change, expenses increasing quite a bit and pay decreasing quite a bit, instead of just being like, we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, we need to say, what is valuable to us? What do we want to be spending our limited disposable income on?
Yep.
And actually sticking to that. So for us, it is true that at the beginning, our values were more like, we want to experience all that New York City has to offer.
Want to explore your new city. Exactly.
Right. So if we had been a little bit more intentional on, yes, we're not going to be saving any money right now, but, and we might even be incurring a little bit of debt, but we need to be like intentional. We can't do that and get a fancy new gym and, go on a trip, that just is what kind of set us up for failure.
Yeah. Not even having those expectations and talking about them up top.
Yeah.
Can I add one more lesson that I would take away from this, which is I think we're obviously talking about money on this podcast. It doesn't mean that money always has to be the thing that's the most important.
Yeah.
And so I think if you viewed it that way, you'd probably still be in Jacksonville, go Jaguars, but you'd still be down there because why would I move to New York and make less money? That doesn't make financial sense. I'll just stay here.
Right.
Sometimes you have to figure out what you're prioritizing for. And it sounded like getting to New York was such a dream of yours that you were willing to sacrifice money sometimes to accomplish that, which I think is just really smart. And also if you look at probably growth trajectory of your income, you could grow a lot more in New York.
Right.
So getting there is the hardest part. And sometimes you have to make that work in a tight financial situation. So that's something that I would take away from that story as well.
I agree. I think that's a good call out. And also we were kind of ignorant about the sacrifices that we were about to make. And I think that was a good thing.
Yeah. Sometimes ignorance
is bliss.
Super helpful.
People be saying that.
It's my motto for life. I don't want to know anything.
But yes, I think remembering that sometimes you will have to sacrifice money in order to achieve your career goals is a really important one.
Love it. I will share my first money moment now.
Okay.
So out of college, I did AmeriCorps.
Yes.
I made $12,000 a year through AmeriCorps. Granted, we did get help. We got food stamps because we were under the income limit, and my parents paid my $700 a month rent in Milwaukee. Yeah. So very privileged that they could do that for me at that time. But my paycheck was $12K a year.
A year.
I don't even know. It was
that's
I think $18 every 2 weeks, something like that. So it's very low. Then after that, I went and got a fellowship at a graduate program called the Trinity Fellows at Marquette University, where they actually paid for your school and paid you. And I think my stipend was $18K a year. So not to flex, but got a 50% raise. So I went from 12 to $18K. Then I graduated and I had to enter the real world. And for me, I was so used to those numbers being quite small. And that's just what money was. I should have been, I wish I had this podcast basically back then.
Sure.
I was not thinking about even doing any market research on what I should be getting paid. And so I got this job offer I was very excited about. And they said, so how much money are you expecting to make? And I literally thought I was scamming them. I was like, I'm going to say 30K.
Yeah.
I'm almost going to double my salary. What's good? So I'm like 30K. And they're like, they probably had never heard that number ever in the history of Marquette University. They're like, what? They literally said to me, I'm not kidding, we can't pay you that little.
Yeah.
It was against the law.
Classic.
It was
it breaks child labor laws.
Yeah.
I know you're an adult, but that's
they're
something's
is
not
this
right.
a setup? Are you wired? Are you working for the FBI? It's embarrassing. I did no research, and I wish I would have because I could have made a lot more money. So they had to push me up. I think it was 40K or something like that. And then I couldn't say anything because they gave me more than I even asked for. So that is my lesson number one is always do your research about in general what you're making. My lesson number two is your anchor does affect you, I think, more than I was realizing. I couldn't imagine asking for 4 times what I was currently making or 5 times what I was currently making.
Yeah.
It just felt impossible.
Yep.
And so I felt like, well, that doesn't even make sense, but like it would have in that scenario. And so really understanding like the market and how your anchor affects you was like the first money lesson I learned coming out.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I like that we're talking about both like the top line and the middle lines, like the income that you're making and like expenses.
Yeah.
I think both are like vital, especially when you're early in your career.
100%.
Keep an eye on.
Yes.
Situation number 2.
Okay.
So sometimes in your career, you will get a bonus. And sometimes that bonus is larger than you were expecting.
It's a great scenario.
Yeah, it is a great scenario.
That.
This is a great scenario. So
Happens to me all the
I
time.
had a lovely bonus my first year in New York. It's pretty obvious which company that was, but whatever. I got a bonus that I was not expecting because basically everyone told me when you leave finance, the bonuses are gone. Bonuses in finance can be up to, it could be up to like 100% of your salary.
Wait, say that again. Finance?
Finance bonus, big.
Might be looking for new work.
Yeah, but it's bonuses are a huge percentage of your annual income as a finance professional, and I was told that you would not be getting that anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then I got the same bonus that I got my first year of finance at this next job,
Oh my God.
and I was like, what?
You're like the West Village paid off after all.
It's crazy. So I ended up making slightly less still because I had taken that pay cut, but like closer than I was expecting to my previous year's salary in the next year.
Amazing.
And I spent it like it was on fire.
Kayla.
I know.
Kayla.
Which is crazy because I'm like extremely cheap normally.
I feel like that is not like
it's
you.
not like me. And I was like, I literally like went to a better gym. I like signed up for a better gym.
You're like Crunch Fitness, see ya.
Exactly. And like what I did, that was the biggest mistake. Like, yes, I did put some of it in savings. Yes, obviously, whatever. Like some of it was like I invested.
Well, you had to pay off the credit card debt too. So.
Right, from the previous. But a lot of the things that I spent my bonus on were recurring expenses.
No, you really, yeah.
Yes.
Tough.
So basically I was like, oh my God, I got like a $15K bonus. I'm now going to level up my lifestyle in a way that is as if that is like my new paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started doing these recurring expenses like, oh my gosh, now I can add on a Pilates. Now I can do whatever. Oh, I'm going to be doing, whatever. I can't remember now what I was spending it on, but I remember it was a lot of recurring expenses.
Yeah. You're like, Netflix, give me 2 of them.
Sure.
I'll take 2 accounts.
Like actually, I was making such dumb decisions, and it was the definition of lifestyle creep. So you mentioned at the top, lifestyle creep is basically when you increase your income and then you increase your spending accordingly. Basically what that means is you're no less financially free than you were before because now you're just spending more money. You could still be living paycheck to paycheck or feeling like you're living paycheck to paycheck because your spending has increased so much. So in order to that, first of all, that changed big time when the second year came around and I did not get the same amount of a bonus. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, shit, I have basically been spending as if this is going to be a given. It was not. And then I had to adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
This was a very 24-year-old move. I was like, whatever, it's going to be great. So my recommendation here is if you get any of these types of lump sum equity, bonus, imagine that doesn't exist in the future. Spend some of it, but invest as much as you can in a savings account, 401k, paying off debt, and do not assume ever that you're going to make that money again. And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show.
Okay, my money moment number 2 is one that involves Kayla as one of the main characters.
Oh, brother, I know exactly what this is.
So this was 5 years ago, basically, when we started at
4.5-ish, yeah.
Kayla was my first boss. We had done I think this was either 6 months or a year into the job. We had we grinded. We did so much together.
It was definitely lessons. I'd say it was 5 months in.
Yeah, okay.
It was short, yeah.
It felt like 7 years. It was very intense. Yeah, we had just launched the first. Yeah. We built this product essentially. It was, I don't mean this almost exaggerating. It was kind of a 24/7 thing. It was just, we were going, and it was. I was super excited about it. I feel like I loved working with Kayla. We were building something really exciting. Yep. So that felt great. And then I can't remember exactly how it works. So you might have to fill in the blanks here, but either I found out or you found out the discrepancy of like how much I was making versus like how much I probably should be making.
So I remember you had just moved to New York.
Yes.
And
did I tell you?
You told me how much you were making.
That's right. So we finally had the like talk to your coworker about
Yeah.
salaries. We're homies now. This is all good. And Kayla was like, well, that's not fair.
Yeah.
And
it was very low for the record.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say again,
it was lower than anticipated.
This is no disrespect to Morning Brew, and I mean this sincerely from the heart. They gave me exactly what I suggested, and remember, I was making $38K at the previous job. I basically asked for 70, and they gave me 70. And then later found out that like I was making less than other people, and this is the lesson here. One, Kayla then like got on the phone or emailed said, hey, this is not fair. Like, we need to rectify this situation. And basically went to the mat for me. And Morning Brew, to their credit, like rectified it immediately. Mm-hmm. And like, I think we came to a situation where everyone felt like that's now fair, which is great. The lesson here for me is like, I do think in some cases, like, your manager matters a ton for how much money you will end up making. And like, having conversations with your manager about like what your expectations are financially will help you. It'll either help you achieve those financial goals or like understand if your manager is really going to be able to do that for you. I think by not having the conversation, not talking about salary goals with your manager, it only sets you up to fail. And you might start breeding like animosity towards them, but like you haven't actually told them what you want and how you're going to get there. And so that was just like a really, powerful moment. Like sincerely, like it was a really powerful thing that Kayla did for me. And also it made me like Morning Brew a lot more. I was like, oh, like if there's like a situation and you're thoughtful about it and you bring it up, like they're going to do their best within their constraints to make it right. Yep. And so, yeah, I think your manager does matter when it comes to money. And having those conversations is really important with them.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out that your manager should know how much you make from the beginning.
It was a glitch.
It was a literal. It was like one of those situations. I was talking to somebody that I won't name here, and it was like, yeah, I'm not sure why you couldn't see that.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I'm actually kind of glad that I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because I think if I had come into it knowing how much you were making and you told me, I would have been like, well, yeah, that's like...
It would have been like too early.
It would have been too early.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been like up in arms. I'd have been like, oh, okay.
Like, this is just a guy.
I don't know this person, and like, I don't know how much effort, obviously, how much he deserves. So I am really kind of glad that it worked out that way. I don't think it should have come to that, but I'm like, I think that was kind of the best case scenario.
Yes.
That being said, I also think my indignation probably helped a little.
100%.
In terms of being like, why is this?
That's what I'm saying. Like that, it mattered that you were my manager at that moment. And yeah, you helped me out a ton. So basically the lesson is get Kayla as your manager.
Famously. Good advice. All right. So should we talk about situation number 3?
Let's do it.
All right. So I will talk about situation number 3, which is when I got a relatively large pay increase that I was not expecting, and what I did.
Okay.
So for me, I think when I'm talking about money, and again, the two things that really shaped, besides like how I grew up and all that stuff, the two things in my career that really shaped my view on finances were situation 1 and 2, right? When I took a pay cut and increased my expenses intensely, and then also when I got a bonus and lifestyle creeped the hell out of it.
And balled out.
Yeah. And again, balling out at 24 was like, and New York was like, well, now I can go to Trader Joe's and, instead of the Stop and Shop and stuff.
Chipotle, you're like extra guac.
Yeah, exactly.
More guac.
So I was now, once I had rectified those two situations, I felt extremely, extremely protective of every single dollar. And I was very focused on building savings, building up investments, not spending too much. Again, in New York, as a 26-year-old, that's hard. But I was extremely stingy about where I spent my money. Once I got a pay increase where I could start to relax a little bit, I could still save more money, invest more money, and I had a little bit extra left over, I was like, okay, I should just be saving even more. I should just be investing even more. And what I realized is like, there are some things that are worth spending money. And it goes back to my lesson from situation number 1, which is like the values that you have, like you should spend more on things that allow your values to kind of flourish. So for me, some of that was donations. Some of that was, the amount of time that I spent going to the laundromat. This is like such a like small thing, but the amount of time that I spent going to the laundromat and doing my own laundry because there was no washer dryer in unit because it's the West Village, it's New York, was horrific.
Oh yeah, been there.
And so spending money on a wash and fold, like literally gave me back 3 or 4 hours a week, if not more. And just was like one task I didn't have to think of. It made my life so much better. And now that's not like a value, like, oh, I value not doing laundry, but it gave me back so much time and increased my happiness so much that it was so worth the like $60 a week at that time. And so I think when there are some moments when you can spend more. And I think spending in accordance with your values is the thing you should be doing, and not necessarily like lifestyle creep. I want to go to Equinox or whatever.
Yeah. I love this tactic, and I think it gets at something that we talk about pretty much on all of our shows, which is like doing the thing that actually matters. It's like spending money on the thing that actually matters to you. And I think if you spend time figuring out what actually makes you happy, then you will spend money on those things and you'll actually have an increase in your life satisfaction. If you don't spend any time thinking about it and you just start spending willy-nilly, you're just going to end up not saving money and not really understanding like what makes you happy. And not to get like very philosophical, but like that's kind of the question we all have to figure out in this lifetime is like, what are the things that actually bring me joy? And money should be a tool to let you do those things more. But if you don't know what they are, you're never going to accomplish them. So I think that's a really, really good tactic.
Lovely. What's yours?
My last money moment is structuring my compensation. So right now, like I am paid a base and then I have a variable part of my comp that's based on certain metrics that the company that like I have some influence over.
This is a good one.
And I really, really like this setup. And even if I'm making like the same amount of money I would, which like in theory you'd be like, no, take the for sure thing, not the thing that's variable, and you might make less if the company doesn't do that well. And like just using that as an illustrative example, variable comp is very helpful because I think it helps you structure your savings and your spending in a way that makes a lot of sense.
That's so smart, yeah.
So like my paycheck for the most part is a base. And I get that, and on I know how much that is. So like the rent I'm gonna sign up for with my wife is based around like my base and what she makes as a base. She's in sales too, her sales. So like we kind of both have a similar setup. So like we know we're gonna be able to afford it even if things go like terribly wrong at the company. Like my lifestyle is built around that number. And then I'm paid out quarterly. So like the quarterly feels like additive, not like, oh, thank God, I need this to like go pay off my credit card debt that I was accumulating thinking this was going to come. I treat it purely as like, this just is more like it's bonus. It's more, it's gravy on top. And so I know like I can be a little more, fun with that money if I need to, because like I've only built my lifestyle off of what I know I'm getting. Or when the angel is talking to me on my shoulder, I'm like, oh, this could all go into savings because I don't need to go and fill a gap I had because I wasn't living outside of my means. And what this has done for me is like it's taken the stress out of like building my lifestyle around a higher number and then like maybe always feeling a little like penny pinched or something. This just is like has given me a nice, okay, that's the number. Everything else is extra.
Yeah.
And it helps me, who's someone who's not super into budgeting, not super into like tracking every dollar. I just know like this month works because like I know what I spend, I know what I make. It's helped me tremendously. So if you are in a situation where you can structure your compensation like that and you have similar tendencies to me, it's been a massive unlock.
Yeah, it's great. It's like similar to my bonus one, which is like, but it's not a bonus, right? It's like, it's compensation, like relatively
some portion
expected.
of it is coming. I know it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really smart because especially if you have tendencies like perhaps I do, which is like, oh, I have this money is mine, and therefore I'm going to spend it.
Yeah, I think me and Kayla can't hang out because of this tendency, you know?
tendency to be like, yeah, it's in the bank account, it's fine.
Too many margarita pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think that's really, really smart, especially if you're somebody who needs like a little bit of that forced for you.
Yeah.
Like if you are somebody who has, auto transfers, who's really, really disciplined, maybe that's not as useful.
Yep.
Although I would argue that that's probably useful for like career stuff, because then you're doing the right stuff in
That's
order to
right.
get those metrics hit and hit your full compensation, which then furthers your career and makes you more successful, blah, blah, blah. But I do think that that is, if you know that about yourself, then I would also encourage, formulating your salary and compensation that way.
100%. That's our 6 money moments, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We should have a side podcast called
Money moments?
Mo Money Mo Podcast.
No, that's horrible. 3 times. We didn't
All right,
need that.
I'm done.
Okay.
No more. Now, the last thing I want to do for this episode, Kayla, is just talk briefly about how we structure our savings and how we structure our money, because I think that'll be illuminative. Maybe some of this is basic, but I'm thinking back to me in my Marquette days when I'm asking for $30K. I think some people might find it really instructive. I will caveat this: we are not financial advisors.
Don't listen to us.
It sounds like we are based on all those stories we're told, and we're not.
No.
So take it with a grain of salt.
My series exams are long expired. You cannot listen to me.
This is our personal philosophy. It does not need to be yours. So
Let's hear yours.
I can start. So I maxed my 401k at Morning Brew. I think if people are giving you free money, which essentially that is, you have to take it.
So what do you mean by max?
So if I contribute a percentage of my income to 401k, Morning Brew will match that. So I max my contribution that they will match.
Right.
So I get the max amount of free dollars that are out there that my employer is contributing. It's great for multiple reasons, but one, it's effectively 100% return on your dollars. That's a pretty great return in the stock market. And two, it's some forced savings where you're not thinking about having to move that money in. Again, it's the default is to save. So if you are in a situation where you can max a 401k,
do it.
Do that immediately. It is free money, never leave free money on the table. The second thing is I have a joint bank account with my wife, and that's our savings bedrock. We pay major shared expenses out of that. So rent, daycare, and shared utilities. Those are really the only 3 things where any money ever comes out. Everything else we have separate. So we have our own personal credit cards, and we just don't really keep track of who bought the dinner and whatever, because we're fortunate to not have to do that that much. And so when I get paid by Morning Brew, money comes into my checking. It's already gone to the 401k. I use that money. I pay off what I've put on a credit card, and then I shift the rest of that into the shared savings. We have a together shared savings goal, and once we hit that, then it would flow into other investment vehicles if we can do that, like an IRA or Roth IRA, which we both have our separate retirement accounts as well. And so that's kind of a very basic strategy that we've used that I found to be very kind of helpful in terms of where the money goes to.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I think it makes a lot of sense. I basically have a similar approach.
Yeah.
I'll highlight where it's different.
Yeah.
So my husband and I do not have a shared savings account, although we do want one.
Yeah.
So that's on the cards potentially this year.
You can join ours.
It's all just join together.
Podcast family shared account.
Crazy. And we pay your rent, your daycare. But we do have, and this is silly, but we share a co-pilot. So we track all of our money together. So
that's smart.
We create a joint budget, which is our spending goals, but the money that's paid out is separate. So we're not really looking at which credit card is being put down for the same reason. But for me personally, because I have learned about myself that I have a tendency to either be very stingy or be whatever, based on kind of my vibes of the moment, I need to build systems that don't allow me to require willpower in order to reach my financial goals.
Yep.
So I have 2 bank accounts, and I don't know if this is true with everyone, but at least at our company, you can actually allocate a certain percentage of your income to different accounts.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
So I do 80% to one bank account and 20% to another. The 20% is the account that my credit card is attached to.
Oh.
So it makes me feel like I have less money, and so I spend less, because if I do go over the 20% in a given month, I could transfer from one bank account to the other and then pay down my credit card debt. But I really, really don't like to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good psychological trick.
Yeah, so I look at it, I'm oh gosh, I'm getting close. Those numbers are getting close together. I should probably stop spending money.
Yeah.
And so that allows me to kind of forget about the other one. The other one also is the one that I will then do auto transfers every month to my, again, hashtag not sponsored, Betterment account, which does my it has like automatic investments for certain goals and retirement and whatever and savings. And so then that's not something that I'm forced to do every month or remember every month. It's just automatically pulling it out.
Yeah.
And then, by the end of the year, I'll review how much do I want to spend? Do I want to put more or less into that based on my spending goals or my savings goals, spending goals. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I approach it. It's similar, but I think we're like individual spenders and joint savers.
Yeah, I like that. The psychological trick is a really fantastic. I have to look into that. I did not know you could break your check apart. So I'm learning a lot on this podcast too. Okay, that was money at work. If you have a money tactic or a money situation you want us as non-financial advisors to check out, per my last email at morningbrew.com. Also, what did you think of this episode? Let us know. We're happy to do more if this was helpful. And then, I kind of complimenting ourselves, but I'll direct it at you. It can be tough to talk about money, and obviously there's different backgrounds, different privileges, all of that. These are our own personal philosophies. You don't need to subscribe to them, but I'm glad that we could be as vulnerable, I think, as we were on this episode, because I think there's a lot of instructive stuff in here. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week. Should we roll the credits?
Yeah.
Our producer is Michaela Heck.
Our technical director is Uchenna Oga.
Brittany DeTaco is our audio engineer.
And our president is Devin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew.
Thanks for listening, and we'll spend money with you next week.